Hello everyone. In this series of videos, we'll be covering all about algorithms, and this is useful for people who are applying for new jobs or planning to take GATE as with CSE as their branch. Today I'll be covering the basic introduction of what algorithm is all about. Right. So let's understand the basic definition of what algorithm is. So, algorithm is nothing but a combination of sequences that consist finite steps which can be used to solve a particular problem. So, these are basically steps which we have to perform in order to implement a solution or solve a problem, basically. For example, problems are something that we face in our daily life in different scenarios. But one of the basic problems that every single person come across in their academic career is multiplication of two numbers. That is the basic thing, right? So for multiplication of two numbers, we have to make sure that we have to follow an algorithm, and that algorithm consists of basically three steps. That is, you have to take two numbers, multiply. I'm talking about it in terms of computer coding, right? So we basically take two numbers, right? We multiply them and store it in a variable, and then we return a variable. As simple as this. So primarily, the whole process consists of these three steps, which you have to perform, and then we are good to go with our small piece of code, right? Now let's have a look at the basic properties of what algorithms are all about. So the algorithm which we have finally decided for our problem needs to terminate at a finite time, right? We cannot have a algorithm that runs for infinite amount of time. We have an infinite loop in place and that runs forever. So that is not a solution. So the first and the foremost thing is that we need an algorithm that terminates after a finite amount of time. Okay, finite amount of time. So it terminates in finite amount of time. Okay. Now, there could be problems. In terms of computer science, we have many problems that could have possibly have multiple solutions. Or not even suppose, we don't have a multiple solution, but there is a problem that has solution in the form of multiple values, right? So we have to make sure the algorithm that we have selected must ensure that we have at least one result coming out of it, right? At least one result, because if you don't have any result out of a problem, then that algorithm is definitely useless, right? So we need to have at least one result. In terms of computer science, we have multiple programming languages like C, Basics, Python, uh, Java, and a lot of many other languages like COBOL and lot of different languages. So we make sure that the algorithm that we have selected should be independent of any of the programming languages, right? Should be independent, right? Don't have to create an algorithm that is specific to a certain programming language. The algorithm should be as such that a normal novice can easily communicate with a person who is a business user, probably, or who's a person who is not at all aware of any sort of programming language. We could easily demonstrate them in terms of mathematical solutions or verbally as well. So algorithm is something that should be independent of a programming language. Okay. Last and very important is that it should be deterministic, right? Should be deterministic. By deterministic, what I mean to say is that the algorithm should always produce the same result for a certain problem, right? We cannot have an algorithm that multiplies 2 into 2 and results out 4 for the first time, and we have a second, and when we run it again, we have 2 into 2 coming out as 6. That is not possible, right? So it should be deterministic in nature. We should be able to determine a certain value for a certain problem using a certain algorithm, right? So these are the properties, right? Now, what are the different steps that we have to perform in order to have an proper solution in front of us whenever we are trying to solve a problem, right? So, using algorithms, certainly. So, basically, these are the 5 steps that we have to perform, right? First is design an algorithm, right? We need to design an algorithm, right, at the first place. When you look at a problem, we have to make sure that we come up with an algorithm that is suitable for that solution. In computer science, we have algorithms like DAC, divide and conquer. Then we have greedy. Then we have dynamic programming. Okay. So we will in the following videos we'll be covering each one of this DAC or greedy or dynamic programming in terms of solving multiple problems, right? So second is we draw a flowchart, right? Drawing a flowchart is really necessary, right? In fact, this also comes under this, right? Different algorithms that have been already researched by many researchers in the past. So that is how we draw the flowchart as well. We draw a flowchart, right? This is going to happen after this, this is going to happen after this, right? So this is a flowchart that we prepare. Third one is the testing that we do. Suppose we have finally understood the problem, we have come up with an algorithm, I've created a flowchart, right? So then ultimately we have to test it, right? We cannot just simply use it for the purpose. We have to test it. So we'll be testing it and verifying it at our end with multiple scenarios. Like we have come up with this algorithm, we test it with different values, whether we are getting the right result or not. Once all these 3 steps are done, then we implement it, right? Implementation comprises of coding it, right? Nothing else. It's simply coding, right? We code it in languages like C, C++, Java, Python, right? So we code in all these languages, right? Once that is done, we analyze it. By analyzing, we basically means TC, that is time complexity. Time complexity is also a concept that we'll be covering in this series. So time complexity is basically a way of understanding how efficient our algorithm is, right? An algorithm and also the funny thing is that to solve a problem, we don't have a definite algorithm in place. We can use multiple algorithms, multiple ways of solving the question. So out of all those bag of solutions, we have to come up with a certain solution that takes the least amount of time, and which is suitable for our compiler and doesn't take much of a memory. So all these things that we'll be covering in our following videos. So this is what the basic introduction of algorithm is all about. Thank you.